Hey guys, what's up? The Comics Kid 2099 here. I've got a book that I read yesterday, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. Prelude to X-Men Schism. This is written by Paul Jenkins, and it's got a whole bunch of artists who worked on it. So I'm just going to throw this book right up there, and you guys can look at all those artist names. I'm not going to read through them all. This book is quite possibly one of the worst X-Men stories that I have ever read in my entire life. And you may be saying right now, what about Chuck Austin's run? What about Peter Milligan's run? Okay, those are really bad runs on the X-Men, but here's the thing. At least there is an actual story going on with both of those runs. It may be a really, really terrible story, but at least there is some kind of semblance of a story. This, I said it's the worst X-Men story I've ever read. Let me rephrase that. It is the worst X-Men story that I've ever read, because this is literally completely lacking in anything that even resembles a plot. I could probably do this review in about 30 seconds because there's nothing to talk about here. The thing is, if this was called anything else, if they called it anything other than Prelude to Schism, if they called this X-Men Origins 3 and it was just a collection of origin issues about various X-Men characters, then it would be an okay story. It wouldn't be something I would necessarily recommend, but it would be a fine little story. If you want all of Wolverine's backstory succinctly told in one issue, then this would be the place to get it. That would be fine, but that's not what it's being advertised as. Now, I haven't read Schism yet because I thought you would need to read the Prelude before you read the actual event. But I guarantee you that this book is going to have zero bearing on the main event that is Schism. Basically, what happens here, this is a 4-issue miniseries. All of the X-Men, or all of the main X-Men, are sitting in a room and they're all like really panicky about something big that's coming to destroy them all. We don't know what it is. They never ever say what it is. Just based on context clues, it sounds like it's like a meteor or something like that. Namor says that around 1,000 years before the birth of Christ, there was some big thing that wiped out like 2/3 of Atlantis, and it sounds like it's a living thing. Emma says that she can read its mind, but they never actually say what it is. And that's all we know. And then the entire book is all of these different characters basically waiting for Cyclops to make a decision on what they're going to do. That's it. That's all it is. There's no story here at all. And you may be saying, well, that sounds like there's a little bit of a story. No, there's not, because everything that I just described to you is just a framing device for the actual comics. So the very first issue is Cyclops asking Professor Xavier for advice. The very next issue is Cyclops asking Magneto for advice. The third issue, we get to see Cyclops' backstory as he's pondering what to do. The last issue, we get to see Wolverine's backstory as Cyclops does not ask him what he wants to do. That's it. Like I said, this is one of the worst things I've ever read. If they called it anything else, it would have been just fine. It would not have been necessary. It absolutely wouldn't have been necessary. But the thing is, they are so hard at misleading us right here with this title that it makes me furious. This is not a prelude to anything. This is just an unnecessary story that kind of succinctly tells the backstory of a few random characters. It is not a prelude to Schism. And you may be saying, I thought you didn't necessarily want things to always have a big impact on what's going on in the Marvel Universe. That's true. I don't need every story to have a huge impact on everything, to have huge ramifications. I don't need that. But if you're going to call it Prelude to Schism, then here's a fun idea. Actually make it be a prelude to Schism. That's kind of important. Titles are very important. If you're going to call it something, then it needs to be what you are advertising it as. In the back of this book, Paul Jenkins says he does not like doing big stories. He likes doing small, character-driven stories. And he mentions his time on Spider-Man, where he mostly just did standalone issues that you could just jump in the middle and just read a random issue and it would make sense. That sounds awesome. That is the kind of comic that I wish most comic books were. I wish that most series you could just jump in with a random issue and read it and it would make sense. I wish that you could not have a big 12-part storyline going on in a series or something like that. Having said that, if you're going to call this Prelude to Schism, then don't get Paul Jenkins, who is adamantly refusing to actually do a Prelude to Schism. It's like, what if we could get the one person who absolutely does not want to write something that ties in with a big event? What if we got that guy and had him write something that doesn't tie in with a big event, and then we told everyone that it did tie in with a big event? I'm done rambling about this. This is hands down one of the worst X-Men stories. No, the worst X-Men story I've ever read, simply because it was misbranded, and the fact that it is misbranded leads people to have expectations. This is terrible. I cannot recommend this to anyone at all unless they're blind and they can't see the cover and they have no idea what Schism is and they have no intention of ever reading Schism. If you ripped off the cover of this book and just handed it to somebody, then they might like it. But even then, they're going to be really confused. What is it that all of these characters are waiting around for? We're never told in this book, and I have a feeling we're never told in any book. This is awful. I absolutely do not recommend this book. If you see this book, run the other direction. Do not buy it. This was terrible. That's all I have to say about this book. I hope that you guys enjoyed my little rampage about this book. I hope that you found it entertaining. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you did like this video, I will be doing another review at the end of the week of an episode of Batman Beyond. And then next week, I'll be doing a few more reviews of mostly graphic novels and stuff like that. So if you're interested in seeing stuff like that, stick around, see what else I'm doing throughout the week and at the end of this week. And that's all I have to say. So until then, I'll see you guys in the future. Have a good day.